Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. A very warm welcome to yet another session of Weekend with Wisdom. Let me begin with a small prayer. Om Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Today we have a special guest who is joining us all the way from Manjakudi in Tamil Nadu, Sri Swami Rameshwara Nanda Saraswati ji. Very warm welcome to you, Swamiji. Thank you for making time for this session. Swamiji will be speaking on the topic today and tomorrow as part of this Weekend with Wisdom on the topic of yoga and jnana, yoga and knowledge as per Bhagavad Gita. Just a short introduction to Swamiji. Swami Rameshwarananda Saraswati ji took sannyasa diksha from Swami Sakshat Kritananda Saraswati ji, the chief acharya at Swami Dayananda Ashram at Rishikesh. He is a resident at Manjakudi, Puja Swami Dayananda Saraswati ji's birthplace. He runs a Vedanta study center there called Jnana Pravaha, wherein all of Puja Shri's teachings have been archived and are available for free access for the students of Vedanta. Swamiji is also associated with Arsha Vidya Research and Publication Trust founded by Puja Swamiji Dayananda Saraswati ji, which publishes Puja Swamiji's teachings, his books, etc. Swamiji facilitates the production of transcripts and edits of Puja Shri's teachings and their publications, thus making them available to students of Vedanta. Again, thank you, Swamiji, for making time for these sessions. Now you can please go ahead. Viewers, if you have any questions, please put it in Q&A box. Towards the end, last 10 minutes, we will take up if there are any good questions. Please go ahead, Swamiji. Start your session.
सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतं स्तुमा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः दयाकरं दयाकारं दान्तं धर्मप्रवर्तकं प्रणमामि दयानन्दं मदाचार्यवरं करम् ॐ Thank you, Simji, for introducing me to the audience. It's a blessing to be present in this session with a virtual audience of Vedanta students. I would like to be as erudite and as clear from the blessings of Puja Swami Dayananda Saraswati and the Parampara, which has blessed me with the teachings, so that the students who are online and are spending precious time with us, with me in this session, get to know what are the topics involved in Gita, Jnana and Yoga, as is laid out in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So I will just start with a sort of set of notes which are all quintessence from Puja Swami Dayananda Saraswati's notings, or gems, I would call it, talks on Bhagavad Gita to the Gurukulam students, and then I will take on so that I can be a sort of, I can share my understanding or how the jnana and yoga as laid out in Bhagavad Gita has blessed me, and so it can do for all others who are in the panel who are listening to these talks. Swamiji says that those spiritual people are those who want to settle life's problems here in this life and not the one who seeks solution in the afterlife. It's a beautiful way of putting it across. And who else but Bhagavan himself introduces himself in Bhagavad Gita. So we are really listening to this from the horse's mouth. That is how Vyasa presents. As there is no other way, this topic of yoga and jnanam, which is useful for the humanity, cannot be from any other pramanam. Anya pramanam abhavat. So Suti, from the words of Ishvara, it's called Ishvara Vachanam. Somewhere along, Vashakara, Shankara tells this Ishvara Vachanam, Ishvara Vachanam. So it's from directly from the mouth of Bhagavan, we are getting to hear this. So that gives authenticity to the whole Gita Upadesha. So the rishis do not claim authorship for this. They say that who they have seen it as received. That is why they are called rishis. Rishati Pashyati iti rishihi. And even Vyasa says Krishna is purely Gita Acharya. His avatara is only Gita Acharya. It's not for any other purpose. So when he presents himself as Acharya, the jnanam that is being talked about is the prime purpose of his life, and that is why he had a smile when Arjuna asked for Nishreyas, and he was so happy to present it because his avatara is coming to fruition. So even Mahabharata is called Jayam. Jayam means Satyameva Jayate. Satyam is generally, it's not the relative Satyam that is being talked about here. Satyam, the word etymology thereof is Sa stands for Sat, and the It stands for Mithya, and Yam stands for Yamayati. So that which, what do you call, Yamayati is a master of both the mutable and the immutable. That is Satyam. And Satyameva Jayate meaning the truth of life is getting established in Mahabharata, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the quintessence of Mahabharata. So that is how Satyameva Jayate is interpreted by the Shastrakaras. So that is why, even Adi Shankara, when he gives the introduction to Vedanta, see straight away, he wants to be so very particular that the jnanam part of it has to straight away, it makes a big start without even going into the context of the Gita and the first chapter, the second chapter, 10 verses. Straight away he talks about the jnanam part of it, the margadvayam. Even his prayer, when he says, is only what is the pravritti marga and what is the nivritti marga vayam, and how Arjuna's all his problems which he has presented eloquently is purely because of he's trying to narrate his problems within the order of Mithya, whereas the solution lies outside of that. So that is where he almost even dismisses, saying that it's all the problem of the identification with aham and mama. That is a problem. If you take that out, the dharma part of it, what is evident to be done in this context, become very clear to Arjuna, and likewise for the entire humanity, what they have to do to get out of to look for a fundamental solution for their human problems lies in jnana and not in karma, which is essentially seeking solution within within what we have been doing all along. So that is what pariksha lokan karma chitan nirvedamaya brahmana nasti akritaha kritena tad vijnanartam gurudeva vigachet, like Mundaka Upanishad. He says that you have to get out of the box of karma and look at go to the guru. That is where nasti akritaha kritena, by doing repeatedly you have not found solution, so look for it elsewhere, and it is available. So the psychological and emotional problem as presented by Arjuna may be topical, but Swamiji makes it that is basically every one of us is going through different situations, different contexts. So the psychological and emotional problem belongs to us also, and that is why Gita is a universal teaching. Because Arjuna eloquently presents that in spite of being the whole prelude before the war, Krishna himself was a messenger to avoid war by some means, ensuring that dharma in some measure is getting established by going to Duryodhana's darbar and asking for what do you call, either 5 districts or 5 houses, or one room with one house with 5 rooms, so that some sort of dharma gets established, that the Pandavas get their due. But even that was annulled by Duryodhana's stand. So to establish dharma, war became inevitable. So, so this all, it's all what do you call? These are only highlights that the human problem, however dharmic one person is, the solution doesn't lie within dharma's precincts. That is why even Kathopanishad, Nachiketas was prudent enough to ask the Yamadharmaraja, Dharma Tanyat, Adharma Tanyat. Tell me something, the truth of life. And he had the courage to conviction, courage, I would say, rather than conviction, to say truth. We must have the, what do you call, we must look for the truth. That should be the only way we can sort out this problem of dharma and adharma in life. So this is how dharma tanyat, adharma tanyat he means. Okay, and again Arjuna, because of this, what do you call, he has been listening to all these things. Like, it is not that he is totally unaware. He has been among the rishis in the woods and all that. He has been listening to that the sort of apasata jnanam of what it is. There is something beyond dharma and adharma which is shreyas, and that is why he says nishreyas, the word he uses when he asks Krishna to present, and he was also aware that Krishna is an avatara and he is the right person to teach him the truth. So, and Krishna, the beauty of it is, apart from being a Saka of Arjuna, throughout the teaching, he somehow wants to bring, remove the alienation from Ishvara. Like when he says, once he says, when you understand me, my janma and my karma, your janma and karma also becomes equally blessed and divine, and you are also equally an avatara. Like, the alienation from Ishvara has to go away. That is all told by Bhagavan in his own words. Mama divyam karma divyam janma. Once you understand, your janma also becomes divyam, your karma also becomes divyam. So, as Pujya Swami Dayananda Saraswati always used to say, the fundamental problem is alienation from Ishvara. All this, whatever we are talking about, I want to be more complete, I want to be knowing all the time, and I want to be all the time. I don't want to this being, that I be, the longevity. We think that it's longevity of this body, but the longevity of the being. That is what we are all, because we want to be all the time, because that is what it is. The truth of life is, there is only one life, there is only one being, that is always there. So somehow that is a norm of our life. The norm in the sense that is, we somehow innately know that the being is the truth of life. So that has to be, so you don't have to produce it. What you have to do is that the alienation from the being, if you knock it off by the understanding of Shastra, then automatically the being is. So you can be. So it is purely a negative understanding in all, because it is not going to be, the knowledge is not going to be produced, the being is not going to be produced, it is already there. So what you have to do, what is not there, which you assume that you are, has to be knocked off from your what you are understanding. That's all. So it is not even a play of the mind or play of the body, which are all limited. The mind itself has to surrender. It doesn't have anything to do with the knowing part of it. Only what your mind is capable of is thought and thought prevarications. So that has no role to play in this. Thought and thought prevarication is for Vyavahara. So once that is taken out of the equation, you are the being. That's all. The mind itself has to surrender to the glory and be. That is why but it doesn't mean that mind has to be stunted, or you don't have to think, or you don't have to do anything. Those things can go on because it is not within its purview. It has nothing. Mind is there only to do vyavahara. For the being, It is already there. Just now negate all the notions from the mind about the being and live it in its glory and keep doing. So that is where karma does not interfere with jnana. But karma has nothing to do with jnana in terms of knowing. That is why karma yoga is nothing but it has the prelude. It is very karma can be a yoga in Swamiji's own words, that only when there is mumukshutvam, only when the person who is looking at karma yoga as a means has got the primordial, has got the lot of a preliminary understanding of the primordial, that the being, the Swarupa of myself and Swarupa of Vishwara are one and the same. That I want to know. I want to know the glory of it. I have already heard it, and I am going to listen to my Shastra and Acharya. But I don't want my mind and the prevarications or the karma to interfere with it. So I am going to manage, because this body is meant for karma, the mind is meant for karma. I will manage all these two within the blessings of Vyavahara, but ensure that they don't interfere with my understanding of life. That is how this is how I have honestly, from the age of 20, it has been the driving, what do you call, driving force behind my life. When Puja Swami Dayananda Saraswati introduced me to the whole thing, this is what he made it very clear, that you here and now, you are the awareful being, and you are looking at your mind and body and all its changes, all its vyavahara. You are already, you don't even do the what do you call, karma of witnessing. Even the sakshitvam, because there is a sakshyam, we call the being as sakshi. There is no real sakshi as such, because sakshi does not sit and do being, witnessing and all that. It is in its own glory, it is, and the mind and body interacts with the world and keep doing things. While doing things all the time, like a shruti, that is why it's called shruti. While doing things, if you are alert to this shruti, which is going in your mind, like Puja Swami used to say, just to ring true in your mind, true in your heart all the time, that it is you are observing all these things, what is happening in your mind and prevarications. There is no. So then once you objectify it that way, there is nothing like something good or bad. Opposites get thrown out of the window. There are, yes, there are opposites within Vyavahara. There is pain and pleasure, but there is no, what do you call, that the pain and pleasure gets converted into sukham and dukkam only soka and moha, raga and dvesha, only when the being gets identified with the mind and the body as me. That is what Arjuna was told by Arjuna's problem was interpreted by Bhashyakara, saying that the problem is entirely purely aham and mama buddhi. The total identification by Arjuna in the war, in terms of relations, in terms of actual what he is doing, that he is fighting the war, that aham buddhi and mama buddhi, all are my relatives, either side, on either side, they are going to get annihilated. What is the purpose of this war? That is because of that aham and mama identification with the body and mind, which drives Arjuna's thinking. Whereas it is all said, dharma part of it is very clear, that you are here to fulfill a certain dharma, the duty of the Kshatriya, and that is going to bless. That's what even Bhagavan tells after this brief talk on what do you call, the jnana portion. Bhagavan also tells him after that, please get your Kshatriya dharma, you have to follow. Either way, whether you win or lose, you are going to get blessed, because Kshatriya, once he fights a war as part of the dharma, then he gets blessed either way. So all these things he tells later, because that is all part of the sense, part of the vyavahara which all of us are born with. And the body is called dharma kshetra, and like even dharma kshetra, kurukshetra would say, this body is also called dharma kshetra and kurukshetra, in the sense it is here for doing certain things, and it has to do, and it is come in a certain time, it will go away in certain time. That's why Bhagavan himself states asochan anvasochtatvam. He starts with that, saying that gatasun agatasun jnana swachanti panditaha. Yeah, people who are going to die or go away should not be grieving over the people who are going to go away in this war. So just because they are going away, you are going to follow anyway. What is there to grieve about? Because this body and mind, the very fact they have come in a certain time, they will have to go in certain time. That is the reality. So when that being the reality, even discussing it is not worthwhile. Especially now that you have asked for Nishreyas Palam, you are not going to discuss the body and the mind's prevarications. That is essentially the war or dharma or whatever you call it. So that is how Bhagavan himself starts that. So he didn't give any what you call preamble in terms of your adhikaritvam, your what you call the anubandha chadushtayam and all that, because Arjuna has presented clearly the problem which is the fundamental problem of all human beings, and people who are already pariksha lokan karma chitan, once they've already done and come to this teaching and ask for the shreyas, we should straight away, the Bhagavan in his own words made it clear. He has made the message that you straight away start looking at the hard facts of life, have the courage to face the truth of life. That is where the Nishreyas is coming. Nishreyas is not coming by you are producing something or you are avoiding something. It is coming in understanding the truth of life. So that is how I would even say it is not within the things of spirituality, religion, science, materials, etc. It is purely understanding truth as it is. Human being has been presented with this problem only for the purpose of understanding truth. And as I said, you are, in the sense, you as an awareful being, like Swamiji, I was telling that about myself. We can even tell this to every other person who is coming out of the college or coming out of because previously there was a social structure. Everyone felt within the structure and everyone had this apatata jnanam, like everyone is here to realize, to understand the freedom. Human freedom is essentially moksha. All those things as part of the society it was. So there was a structure. So everyone grew with the family and all that. At the right point in time, they moved away and were able to stay with the being and be happy. That structure was available. Today, I would say the people who are already coming out of college, they are already facing the question because so much of information explosion is there. They are already facing the situation people used to face at the age of 40. Swamiji used to say middle age crisis and all. Now, at the age of 20, people can be easily told, and they're all having some, like in olden days, they had to have tarka, nyaya, and all that to have that logical understanding of the abstract now. But today, a science graduate can have a logical understanding of the abstract. When we talk about light in terms of VGR, we can say how a white light, but it has 7 colors. We are seeing so many colors, but they say light is only, there's no colorless, rather not even white. Colorless, but how it is appearing in different, because there is an abstract knowledge behind that. These things are people are already exposed to. So telling them that, see, right now you and I are sitting and talking, there is an awareful being within you, there is the same awareful being is in you, and that is observing my mind, my body, and what it all does. And I am observing your mind and your body, your verbal, what you call non-verbal communication, body orientation, whether you are really listening to me, all those things I can make out. You can also make out from me. That awareful being in both of us, we can be alert to. That is precisely the jnanam which we are talking about. That is what Bhagavan himself straight away talks on that. He doesn't give any sort of preamble or precursor like every other Upanishad does. Lot of preparation. It even talks about adhikaritvam. You must have all these things. That is why this Bhagavan Vachanam as Shruti, as Bhagavad Gita is unique in the sense it straight away it addresses in the context of the war, in context of Arjuna's problems eloquently presented by him. It gives you straight away in the first few verses of the Jnana Kanda of the second chapter. Bhagavan himself is so anxious to get these things out from him, so that thereafter it is a question of just understanding the whole context and go ahead and do the work. He tells that in so many words to Arjuna, and then even even the yoga part of it has totally committed to understanding, making this understanding possible. The yoga which Bhagavan talks about is only with the view to get this jnanam going, not for the purpose of doing karma and yoga and get some phalam out of it. No, yoga is to ensure this karma, whatever we are, this body and mind is bound to do, should not interfere with my self-inquiry, my understanding, my what do you call, getting away the alienation from me, from the total being, the Ishvara, Brahman, whatever you call it. So that oneness of that understanding, the awareful being we are, that Bhagavan wants us to totally get into our system, so that everything else you do is vyavahara. It is bound to be like that. That it is mithya itself is to be told. Once this is understood, automatically that is mithya. Then this is the truth. What is that? Non-truth. Okay, non-truth means it's not non-existent. It's non-truth, but essentially, but still you have to do vyavahara with it. That is what we call mithya. So, but the thrust of this jnana and the second chapter, the verses, is very clearly that getting the truth of yourself to Arjuna in all its, and to all of us as from the Bhagavan's own word, Vishwara Vachanam. I will look at some of the verses on the second chapter, how it is so very thorough in getting out this knowledge. Then we will discuss. Yes.
Yes, Swamiji?
Yeah, it's okay. You can continue, right?
Yeah, please continue.
Okay. See, the first, as I said, asochan anvasochastvam pragyam vadam sabhasuse katasun akatasuncha nanu sochanti panditaha. So, then see the what do you call, the nature of the person, the being which it talks about is so eloquently put. नासतो विद्यते भावः नाभावो विद्यते सतः उभयोरपि दृष्टान्तः तु अनयोः तत्त्वदर्शिभिः. See that so much of emphasis. There are three words that talks about the truth of the being, which I have been talking about. The truth of the being is talked about in three words: Sat, Bhava, and Vidya. See, all the three denote the being. So much of some emphasis is being given by Bhagavan in making this very clear to Arjuna in the beginning, and to us, all of us, as part of the Upadesha. See, everyone knows Satyam is Nitya, but he qualifies it with Bhava Sadhanam, like Bhu Sattayam. Some used to say Bhu Sattayam means Bhavanam which has no non-Bhavanam. At no point in time it is never not there. Double negative he uses. It is never not there. That is why even Manusha is called Naraha. Naraha means Na Riyate iti Naraha. Never not there. That much of emphasis they want to. The Shastra wants to give us the Satyam which is being talked about. Nasato vidyate bhavaha, na abhavo vidyate sataha. A Sat which never has non-existence. That means always is not the word. It is the only thing that is there. Because everything else is nasato vidyate bhava. The first sentence. Something which is asat can never have any existence. And Sat can never have non-existence. So if you look at our own life, everything else, all of us know, including this body, mind, and then everything has a beginning and an end. So Shastra also has got a one nyaya. what is not there before and what is not there going to be later appears to exist only now. It exists, but it is only an appearance because it is not such. Because everything, whatever we deal with in Vyavahara, with the body, mind, our own body, mind, and even in the Panchabhuta outside, is always transient. It is never, what do you call it, is never the same. So that means what? Everything what we transact is never being the same, is Nasato Vidyate Bhava. They follow that, they fall in that category. And then what it is left out is only the being. So Nasate Vidyato Nasato Vidyate Bhavaha, Na Abhavo Vidyate Sataha. The Sataha which we are talking about, the being, has never ever have non-existence. That means that is the, so that is now when Krishna is talking to Arjuna, the being within both of them are one and the same. Everything else is being observed. Arjuna has been so eloquent, he has been able to observe and point out everything other than the being. He has told everything almost, like what is the dharma, what is adharma, what is the kulanasa, what are his people who are there, what are the people who are on the opposite side, how they have grown with them, how are the more acharyas, how are the more exalted people, all those things. So much eloquently he has put together the whole thing, but everything is transitory. That is why he is worried. He is worried that everything is transitory, they are all going to go. But he doesn't understand that is that the Nishreyas which he is talking about, which he is asking from Bhagavan, he is to make this understanding that they are all going to go. So there's no point in harping on that. And the Shreyas which he is talking about is the being which he is by being observant about everything around him, that he proves that he is the being. And Krishna is also the being. He knows that Arjuna doesn't know, that's all. But the being is the same. There is no, because the being which is being talked about does not have arms or legs or what do you call, any, even the mind. It doesn't require a buddhi, because buddhi is it's observing. What is happening in the buddhi is observing. That means it's not the buddhi. So without buddhi, without mind, without body, without mind, without all that is happening around, if there is a being, that being alone can be such, because it is not dependent. It is totally in its own glory, it is there. This is what he is trying to, that is what he says, Veda Vinasinam Nityam Yayenam Ajam Abhyayam Kadam Sa Purusha Partha Kam Gatayati Hantikam. What is there? Gatayati means the sword. With the sword, there is nothing to hurt. There is nothing, nobody is going to kill. The Purusha. Kadam Sa Purusha Partha. The Purusha which he is talking about is right in front of me. That is the being within you who eloquently told about all these things. That has nothing to do with the sword or Kantikam and all that. Avinasinam Veda. Arjuna, Veda, no. Avinasinam Nityam. Ya Yenam Ajam Abhyayam Ajam. You were never born for you to go. Ajam is not opposite to Jam. Jam, everything Jam is Mithya. Whatever comes and goes. Ajam is you. So it is not even an opposite to Jam. Even though, what you call in the verbology, you may say Ajam is opposite to Jam. No. Mandukya Upanishad very clearly says, Ajam is told because with reference to Jam I am talking. But Ajam means it is never born. Because there is no second thing. There is nothing to be born, nothing to be gone. Everything, the truth of everything that is changing, the truth of everything that is changing is the being. You from you are the source from which all that changing gets their what do you call, gets their sustenance. Because you are saying that right now, you are saying that all this, whatever is changing within your own family, everything, these are all you yourself identified as changing. And I am telling that changing, Na Sato Vidyate Bhavaha, I have already told, and Veda Avinasinam Nityam Yayenam Ajam Abhyayam, I am telling now. So what is Avinasi is you. Whatever else you have presented is Nasi. So what is that to worry about? That is what he says. Kadam Sa Purusha Partha Kam Gatayati Hantikam. Then he goes on and see, so much he has told in a few verses. when Vashyakara says, Ate evam Narayanaha, Bhagavan Narayanaha, he straight away tells this. Ishvara Vachanam. Then again, Vasamsi jirnani yata vihaya, navani grinani naroparani, tata sarirani vihaya jirnan, yanyani, yanyani samyati navani dehi. So he says, the body and the mind which you are talking about it is something like where you are wearing your costumes and removing it next day, you wear another set of costumes. That is how it is. Your life, the coming and going, it is something like changing clothes. So what is there to worry about? And even if you look at it as if it is, you look at it as a soul sustaining the body and surviving the body, then again also you are nityam. Even if you go and take some other body, that means you are nityam. You are taking another body, like wearing clothes, another new set of clothes every other day. So what is that to, you are all anyway nityam. So nainam chindanti sastrani nainam dahati pavakaha na cha enam kledyantyo apo na soshayanti marutaha. It cannot be, like eloquently he says, it cannot be fallen by any weapons. It cannot be even what do you call, fire cannot take you away, being, or any what do you call, even any sadness cannot take over you, and any sort of a flood or a tsunami cannot take you away, because the being is not available for anything. Everything else that is happening, what you are eloquently presenting is happening. It's you are the being, and you are seeing all these things. The being, it has nothing to do with any of these things. It is as good as what you call it is Satyam Mithya is as good as the Mithya has no association with Satyam, because it doesn't exist. If you ask, Swamiji always used to say, if you go and talk to clay and ask about pot, he will say, what pot? I don't know any pot. In the sense, even though it pot may be made of clay, it may say that, but clay does not even recognize the existence of pot. That is how you are. Achedyoyam adakyoyam makledo sosyevacha nityaha sarvagataha stanu achalaha ayam sanatanaha. See, this all this adayoham achedyoham is with reference to our own perception of what we see. It has nothing like the nityam, the being which we are talking about, the awareful being has these qualities. We should not mix it up like that. It's not that it has got a quality of achedyam, adakyam, Kledyam, Associum, etc. It's not. With reference to our own perception of what we think, what we are in reference to the body and mind and all, in all our relations, which are all coming and going, that is what makes us worried. With reference to that, he says, this your being, the awareful being, which right now Bhagavan has straight away told him that Masato Vidyate Bhavaha Na Bhavo Vidyate Sataha. It has nothing to do with all this changing that is happening around you. He has made it, that is what he is more eloquent about it. The whole thing, I would say, is an expansion of what you call the dilation of the fundamental truth about the human being, which is the awareful being, with Pujya Swamiji in all his lectures. I would say I heard him at the age of 20, and today I feel the glory, entire glory of it hitting me in all its essence, that we are the awareful being right now, here and there we are available, and we are here to witness whatever is happening around us, rather than getting us identified with them and getting ourselves alienated from this being. The only problem with us is the alienation from the real being and getting identified with the unreal. Naturally, we are going to, that's the identification with the unreal is the samsara. There is not what is happening outside, what we are doing with our body and mind is not samsara. What we are identifying with our mind and body is samsara, and that is the samsaritvam. And once that identification goes with the understanding with from the horse's mouth, that is Bhagavan, we are, it is already there, straight away there, like the Samadhishtanda, what is already there. Praptasya praptihi. What is already there is already available. You just have to recognize that. And instead of looking for apraptasya praptihi, which Swamiji used to say that. Avyaktoyam, achintyoyam, avikaryoyam uchyate, tasmad evam viditvainam nanu sochitam arhasi. A person who understands this, all this, what do you call, our notions we have built up in ourselves, if you negate them, all of them are negation. Viditvainam, then yes, there is nothing to grieve about. Nanu sochitam arhasi. That he goes about telling that there is nothing to grieve about. So he says, atacha yenam nitya jatam nityam va manyase amrutam tatapi tvam mahabaho naivam sochitum arhadasi. Right now, manyase amrutam. You are the you are not qualified yourself to think that you are a martyaha, or people around you, all these Bhishma Drona are martyaha. No. There, the quintessence is they are all Purnam, Nityam, Ajatam. All those things are very clear. So there is nothing to Naivam Sochitum Arhasi. They don't deserve your grief. And as I was telling you earlier, Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu dhruvam janma mritasya cha. Whatever is born is always going to be gone. Whatever is gone will always come back. If you say something is gone, it will come back. So what is there to grieve about? So tasmat apariharye arte natvam sochitum. So what is inevitable? Apariharye arte. What is inevitable? You being worked up about it and keep on deliberating about it is useless. Avyaktadini bhutani vyakta madhyani bharata avyaktani nidhanaya tatra ka paridevana. Avyaktadini, whatever was not there before, whatever is not going to be later, vyakta madhyani bharata, as if it is appearing, as if we are all there here in flesh and blood, and there is something shashvatam. Thinking about it, what is tatra ka paridevana? What is the point in thinking that way? So beautiful, no? The negative, the whole thing, except but na sato vidyate bhavaha na abhavo vidyate sataha. It would say na abhavo vidyate sataha vedaha abhinashanam nityam. Only these two words were positive in this whole upadesha jnanam by Gita Acharya to Arjuna. Only these two words, sataha is it is abhinashanam nityam. Everything else is negating, goes on negating. And he says, just understand that. And finally he says, Ascharyavat pasyati kaschidhenam, Ascharyavat vadati tataiva cha anyaha, Ascharyavat yenam anyaha shnoti, Sutvapi yenam veda na cha shaiva kaschite. He says that, like he says in the example, like even in the Yaksha, it was seen in Kathopanishad. The example is very apt. Like even the Yaksha you know, but not objectifiable. You know, but cannot be understood without Vidya. So also, one who does not understand Atma, even though the seer, seen, sight, all are Atma, and that is Ascharya. In the sense, after presenting it, my own understanding to the contemporary, I would say when I am able to see that I am the awareness being, seeing all these things, the body, mind, and I am able to tell the other person also, see the being in you. Right now you are seeing me and you are seeing your own body, mind, what is happening. And so it's so obvious for a person who has got at the age of 19, 20, who has gone through some basic education. This much of abstract understanding is always there with all of us. What we need to have is to honesty. When the truth strikes like this, my God, what all we have been attracting all these years without having this basic understanding. That truth has to strike you and something real. And if it doesn't strike you, it is something Ascharyam. I would say it's still Ascharyam. After having listened to all these things, if you have still other notions, entertaining and alienation, it is Ascharyam. So then he says, Dehi Nityam Avadyoyam Dehe Sarvasya Bharata. So the Dehi, the being, is the Nityam. Whatever is getting uh, goes away is Avadyoyam. Tasmat Sarvani Bhutani Natvam Sochitum Adhasi. So that is so in all Bhutani, even in the other living being, even the tree, even the animals, the being is the same. The tree comes and goes, but unfortunately, the buddhi in the what do you call the sukshma sarira, the buddhi in all these plants and animals, apparently it looks like they don't have it, or they don't have it eloquent enough to tell you that. But if you look at a tree, somebody always to say it is so content and so beautiful. When a ripe fruit falls from it from its body, it doesn't cry, and it is so with all the wind and rain bashing, it is so beautiful, so patient. So maybe it is in its own essence, it's very clear about its being, but it's not having an eloquence of a buddhi to communicate with you. But we can see, by seeing the tree, we can understand that there is nothing to grieve about in life. So then he goes about, as I was telling you earlier, Swadharmam api. So whatever your body and mind is in a given context, you are there. Now you have to fight the war, you go ahead and do it. And that is true for every one of us. Swadharmam. So what is all Swadharmam? Swamiji always used to say, what is appropriate to a given situation? Okay, it all started with Varnashrama Dharma. When Varnashrama was there, when all the four Varnas and the Ashramas were very clearly defined in society, everyone Swadharma means be sticking to your Varna and Ashrama. Now everything is in a flux. Today, we can say take it as an advantage or at a disadvantage. But applying this yardstick, what is appropriate to the given situation, go ahead and do it with this clear understanding of the being and the awareful being you were as you are true. Whatever is fructifying in front of you, go and do what is appropriate to the given. That is what Swamiji always to say, Swadharmam api cha avekshya navikampitum arhasi. There's nothing to grieve about. Dharmyadi yuddha shreyaha anyat kshatriyasya. In the context of Arjuna, as a kshatriya, fighting the war is your dharma, your swadharma. Whether it is whatever be the consequences, either way, as a kshatriya, you will get the punya for having fought the war. That's what is your swadharma. He eloquently tells all these things in the next few verses and before going to yoga. So I think I will stop here. If people have questions. Anything else? I think I have got still some more time, right? Another half an hour. Yeah, I think so. So here he talks about eloquently about more and more about what he calls Swadharma. So Swamiji used to say, he almost even chides him, saying that, see, whether if you run away from the war, nobody is going to praise you. Even if you go and sit at Rishikesh, people will come and say, here is sitting Arjuna, who has run away from the war, which is his Swadharma. Whereas, yes, he almost like he starts talking about the yoga with sama buddhi in your attitude towards opposite consequences. Yuddhaya you just start doing the playing the war. This is the attitude of karma yoga, which I will be talking about tomorrow. So there is this contention, like Shastra talks so eloquently about karma in all the Upanishads. In the major portion is called, Swamiji used to refer to it as volume argument. The major portion is about karmas and rituals, and whereas Atmajnanam is only in few pages in all Upanishads which are there at the end portion of Vedanta. Actually, people say that Vedanta is the end portion of Veda, is part of the Veda. Then bulk of the Veda is only rituals. Then how can you say neglect that and say that understanding the being is the only thing that is important as jnanam, that is going to give you shreyas, which Krishna talks about in to Arjuna. That there again, which, even though it has been already spelled out, the karma part of it has not. After all the pariksha, we have understood that it doesn't give me the ultimate shreyas. That is why even Arjuna presents it. But even though the veracity of the karma portion is to ensure that you whatever like you start with karma, you start with your body, and till the time, unlike an animal, it doesn't straight away come with a well developed body and mind to do all its chores. The human body, even to turn, it needs the mother's help. So like even the external organs, the internal organs, buddhi and mind has to develop. It takes time. That is why this 10, 15, 20, 30 years is karma is prescribed. There is a template given so that you live a sane life till you start looking for this Nishreyasha Palam. You have to live a sane life for yourself and for the purpose of others, like you don't disturb the society. For that, the prescribed karmas are all given, and that is one thing. And second thing is, by going through the karmas as stipulated in the Shastra, as even in the ethics, universal dharma, which Swamiji always used to say that you are all born with the universal dharma, live and let live. And what you expect of others and others expect of you is basically the quintessence of dharma. The sense, this is how a sane society can operate. Ensure that you and I do not cross words. We work for a common purpose, or at least without crossing each other. For that purpose, the entire karma kanda, the rituals in the olden days, and today the whatever society, the ethics part of it, whatever is been stipulated, whatever the constitution we talk about, all this to ensure to live a sane life with our body and mind interacting with each other, with all the science and materials which we deal with. So even though the bulk of the Shastra is talking about that, it is only as an upaya, for the upaya for you to get, it all drives you. That is why we say, no, that in spite of whatever being the dharma and adharma I've been following, dharma I've been following, adharma I've been avoiding, in spite of that, time and again I find myself doing adharma or others doing adharma on me. The hurt and guilt, it perpetuates, even in spite of my good intentions. The idea is that that is the beauty of it. The whole thing, that the solution doesn't lie within the dharma adharma precinct. You have to look for something else. That is, and that is the very fact that it is not within the precinct of dharma and adharma. It has nothing to do with doing. It has something to do with knowing. So that is why that even in the what do you call Shastra pursuit, there are two pursuits that are being talked about. One is direct pursuit of jnana, or the other pursuit is karma yoga, like doing karma, pursuing jnana. Because pursuing jnana meaning the understanding the swarupa of the being, swarupa of Ishvara, swarupa of the changing world. What is its swarupa? Is only in the domain of jnanam per se. So even without doing karma, still you can understand that. But doing karma gives you the maturity to see the untruth of the whole thing. That is all. That is where the karma helps. And once you see the untruth of it, then what you have to do is that you are put in a certain situation, but do it as yoga with the view to understand, the view to prepare your mind for this understanding. That is how that is where swakarma is being talked about. So So Pashakara as well as Swamiji says there is this whatever we are talking about. Okay, there is so much of jnana involved. Jnana meaning what we say is on knowledge of objects. Whatever we talked about, no, whatever about the mind and the body interacts, and what about the jnana that is involved in dealing with vyavahara. All that, even though they are called as jnana, since it doesn't what do you call it doesn't give you the see jnana, what do we call jnana? A jnanam abaditam, in the sense it should never be negated, it should be never subject to improvement. That is called ultimate jnana. If you apply that yardsticks to all the things which we think we know, none of them can be qualified with the word jnana, because everything, science itself is all that. There is no depth of PhDs in any of subject. So everything, what Newton said, Einstein refuted. What Einstein said, the modern science is refuting. So it is continuously negating the earlier paradigms. The one research subject, if it has to be negated, you just have to discover another paradigm. That's all. Once you go to the next paradigm, whatever was true in the previous paradigm meaning the parameters within which a certain research is being done. Once that paradigm changes, the entire research outcome becomes falsified or becomes obsolete, which we see that. So the jnanam, the paroksha jnanam, or so much of worldly life, worldly jnanam which we are talking about, which is falls within this definition, falls within ajnanam only. It is not even called jnanam. It is only anyata jnanam, what is other than the truth. That is why the lack of true jnanam, that agrahanam karanam, anyata grahanam is the karyam. Like anyata grahanam meaning all be qualified by the word jnanam of objects and things in life. Worldly things, worldly objects is being characterized by Shastra as anyata grahanam. What is other than the truth? That is how the whole thing, all our vyavahara, all our science and materials and what is happening, war and even the justice systems, even the what do you call, you can see right away what is happening in the world all around, all the economics, all the currencies. It's all defined within a paradigm, and we use transaction. And once the world or the world affairs move out of that paradigm, like if Swift is said no more valid, the entire currency system falls because of the war in Ukraine. So it's all the paradigm which we define. That itself becomes a shackle within which we fall. That's all. We create shackles. Maybe either what do you call, silver shackle or golden shackle, but either way it's a shackle. All whatever we think that is jnanam within which we operate, it's all paroksha jnanam, because it is other than me. Other than paroksha means other than me. So there can be no truth other than me. I, the being, is the only truth. So aparoksha atma jnanam alone can qualify as jnanam. Everything is at best called other than jnanam. Okay, you don't call it ajnanam, but you call it other than jnanam. It is useful within a paradigm, within a set of parameters which the society is agreed upon. That's all. Once those agreements are violated, no more that jnanam is going to be helpful. So even this Swarga and all which talked about in the Shastra, it is only to ensure that you don't do, okay, you say that if you do follow dharma and if you do be gracious to the other person, you go out of the way to help others and all that, you will gain punya, which will take you to Swarga. It is a template. Again, it's a model that if you do, if you, what do you call it, you are gracious, you are compassionate, is likely that you will get better births. Nobody has gone to Swarga and come back and told us that is what it is. It is only a template for you to live sane living. That is what the whole Shastra is all about. Till the time you understand the absolute or the truth of it here and now. For that, that is why it's called aparoksha jnanam. Aparoksha means what is not other than you, here and now. It's called a bird in hand, is what two in the bush. So what I know and I am, that if I can understand it here and now, what is the point in elaborately looking at karma and rituals which will take me to Swarga, and once Shine Punya Martya Logam Visanti, that's what Shastra also says. Okay, there's something like a bank of good karma will give you, once the bank once you go to Sarva, the bank money keep on withdrawing. Once it is all over, you will have to come back. So what is the point in gaining that sort of a palam, which is going to palam? That is why it's called perishable. What is palgudaya liyate iti palam? What is never going to be there constantly? It is all going to be shinam. So once it is all over, you are going to come. Even the Swarga is called palam only. So you have to come back. So the very fact it is defined as Palgudaya liyate iti palam, it is not something which is of your interest. You should not be even looking at it. See, I would even say this way, like even the so-called objective world, there is one set of objective world in my mind and when I interact with the world. And every other person will have his own sense of objective world and because of his own experiences, whatever background he comes with. When we interact, we have useful interactions if there is commonality. If there is no commonality, we can go our ways. But if we have conflicting perceptions in the same set of objects of interest, then we work at cross purpose. So it's all chance. Maybe Prarabdha, only saving mechanism can be Ishwarizing in the absence of Atmanyana. Only a sort of an arbiter can be an Ishwara. Okay, some total of all these things are happening within Ishwara, his domain. So within that domain, all of us are subjects. We ensure that he is the Karma Palatata, he is the Karma Adhyaksha, meaning he is the one who makes it happen and he is going to give us the fruits within his blessings we are operating. If we have that understanding, we do whatever we can do and we receive whatever that comes back as prasada. It is again, it is a suboptimal way of looking at life. Like we ensure that we don't cross dharma and whatever we comes back as results, we accept as prasada. That will work only up to a point because fundamentally we are, as I was telling you, we are the awareful being which is Purnam, which has nothing to do with all this happening outside. Unless that Purnatvam is what you call understood and owned up, and you are not going to be satisfied with the Punyam or even the Ishvara Prasada. It can work only up to a point. That is why this jnanam that the Bhashyakara as well as Bhagavan has presented is so clear. He doesn't mince words to Arjuna, saying that Nasato Vidyate Bhavaha. That sentence is the revealing statement. Whatever is Sat is never subject to change. Whatever is Asat is always subject to change. So you cannot be worried about what is going to change all the time. You have to discover what is Sat, what is never subject to change. That is only you, the being. So all this, what you call the transaction which we do, which is supposed to give us maturity, that sort of a what do you call sort of forbearance, tolerance, accommodation, all these words, and so many words Shastra also presents. Like this is only to prepare the mind for listening to having the pakwa, the maturity that if I sit and listen to this Shastra, I must be able to pay full attention to it and what it has got, what is the vivaksha of the Shastra, what it has got to say. And my mind should be totally focused, not what I want to know, whether it will be useful for me in my day-to-day life. No, totally my attention is what Shastra has to say. That total attention, if it has to come, the mind has to be prepared. For that only all these preparations are, all the karma is meant for. So of course, as part of the Bhashya teaching, there is Bhashya has always in those days, like during the Bhashyakara's days, sannyasa, savarna, ashrama, dharma, the fourth sannyasa was fourth ashrama. I was a very natural thing. So he in when he talks about sannyasa, he talks about sarva karma sannyasa as an ashrama. Whereas Swamiji, when he presents in the context, he says that sannyasa is what is happening here. Only a sannyasi can take sannyasa. In the sense, here the understanding should be in your antakarna, that all the negation has to happen, and so that you are alert to the being, the swarupa of the being, that that is the sarva karma sannyasa that is being talked about. That is why that it can happen by way of karma yoga, while doing in any part of the varnashram dharma you are there, whatever varna you are following, whatever ashrama you are following, still this understanding is possible. And yeah, a person can take to sannyasa as an ashrama and pursue this knowledge. Both are possible. That's what Swamiji has used to present it as the two. That is why he says even the Bhagavad Gita is unique in the sense it always presents, even though nivritti is the purpose, nivritti can be in karma yoga as well as jnana yoga. Jnana yogena sankyanam, karma yogena yoginam. So both margas are available, or both are nivritti only. It is not that karma yoga is pravritti marga. No, because karma yoga, the precursor is Atma Jnanam. In the sense, your objective is to know, or for that purpose you do karma as yoga. So only for a person who has got this priority in life, moksha, the freedom, the Atma Jnanam, only for him karma yoga is prescribed. Not doing a job without taking salary is not karma yoga. Doing social service in a temple or in an ashram is not karma yoga. Only when you are very clear, you are understanding my purpose, my priority in life is Atma Jnanam, to be with myself, to understand the reality of the being. That is the purpose of life. Priority is already given. Then what you do as karma within any ashrama wherever you are, in the sense varna or ashrama where you belong to, whatever you do it as yoga. Yoga in the sense preparedness. Be prepared for doing this study, Shravanam, Mananam, Nidhyasanam, that is being prescribed by Shastra to have this total understanding. Like Shravanam is listening to the Shastra. You must be able to sit quietly in a peaceful place and allotted time, and do without getting distracted by what is happening around you. You must be able to study. That is called Shravanam. And then inquire into it. Inquire into it, meaning that when you are studying this also, there will be enough people around you to tell what is the point in doing all these things. So you are supposed to do some pravritti. Why are you doing trying to negate? The jnanam itself is negating all the things. What is there to study? If they say that, you must be able to counter them, saying that this is what. You must be able to meaningfully tell them and discuss with them. And even if they don't understand, at least they will not disturb you. You must be able to be communicative enough. That is called mananam. In the sense, what I am right now talking about the whole thing. You must be able to tell the people around you so that they don't disturb you in your shravanam. That is mananam. And nididhyasanam is we have got in our own what do you call, in our life journey, we have taken so many janmas, and we have come to this stage. So the vasanas, like the samskaras, as part of the background, will always be there. Even while studying, while doing mananam, I will be distracted by various things that are happening to me. Not outside distraction, my mind. I will be interested in certain things, certain food, certain activities. All that can distract me. To ensure that they don't distract me is the nididhyasana. This is doing meditation on the understanding which you have clarified yourself with all the mananam. You stay with it. Ensure that you stay with this jnanam, the truth of this, so that the distractions fall away from your life. Not only in terms of the mind, but also in terms of your activity and vyavahara. Slowly they go out of your system of your life. You are able to live a life in tune with this understanding. That is why nididhyasana helps. So the whole Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam is part of the Karma Yogi, as well as a sannyasi who stays in an ashram, who has already renounced these activities, and taken away either by way of taking an oath or by doing vidhivat sannyasa, like shastra, whatever it has prescribed to take you away from your daily activities. There are certain prescribed rituals. All those things you go through and then take sannyasa. Either way, the critical aspect of it is sannyasa is jnana karma sannyasa. That's what Gita talks about. It is you are here as sannyasi. In the sense, enunciation is what is not true. Enunciation means it is not something you take. There is something. Two things are real. One thing you knock off. No, what is unreal you knock off. There is nothing to knock off. Swamiji always to say nobody develops. Nobody needs to develop vairagyam towards garbage. Garbage is something to is everyone knows it is to be negated. What is that to develop vairagyam towards garbage? That is how it is. What is unreal, even though it looks harsh, it is garbage. It has to be. It is so natural. Once your understanding that what is unreal and what is real should be clear, then automatically unreal goes out of your mind space, and you stick with the real. That is sannyasa. That's what Bhashyakara as well as Swamiji in so many verses they are. So profound about it. There is, of course, again, one more thing is during the days of Bhashyakara, there were a lot of these Purva Mimamsakas, in the sense, who are so committed to karma. In the sense, see, they were all very knowledgeable people. They had a lot of shastra in them, but their commitment was to karma and the philosophies that were contributing to karma. Because of that commitment to the philosophy, there was a barricade, there was a barrier in their mind to see the shastra, the vivaksha of the shastra, as it says. The Upanishad is the end portion. Antima nirnaya. Vedanta means is not the end portion. Antaha, like what I was telling you. नासते विद्यतो भावः ना भावो विद्यते सतः उभयोरपि दृष्ट अन्तः तु अनयोः तत्त्वदर्शिभिः. Tattvadarshi is one who sees drishta anta. Anta means antima nirnaya, vivaksha, total clear understanding. That is the antima, that is the anta which is talked about in Vedanta. Anta is the antima nirnaya. That cannot be refuted, that cannot be improved upon. That is the truth. If that is where the commitment is, where is the question of that is the vairagya based on viveka. So developing vairagya towards unreal is no big deal if you have clarity in understanding the viveka buddhi between sat and asat is there. Once the viveka buddhi between the nitya, anitya, sat and asat is there, then if this is the big picture in your mind, then dharma and adharma, viveka is it is manageable. It is, you can, like in Ramayana it always was told, dharma, Rama is vigrahavan dharma, and Dasharatha, he is not that he followed dharma, he is incapable of going against dharma. So Swami used to say he is incapable of going against, he lost his life by following dharma, by keeping to his word. He was incapable of going against dharma, because for them, though, they are all architects. Like they were very clear about the sending the message of life through these epics. In the sense, there is no the dharma is non-negotiable. That can happen only when the vastu avastu viveka. What is unreal, real and unreal? Right now, what I'm talking about, the awareness being the only reality. Everything around is only unreal. What comes and goes, then. That means what comes and goes, it is only a transitory thing. Real is the only vastu, then there is only vastu. Then where is the question of conflict between dharma and adharma? See, there is no necessity for you to go against dharma when there is no second thing. So that clarity in vastu viveka is more important for you even to follow dharma and adharma. Follow dharma and eschew adharma in your life. It is very so. That is why that is the quintessence of Bhagavad Gita and also all shastras, that if you have the view of life properly, every point of view remains a point of view. Otherwise, the point of view becomes a view and threatens you. And then you were put in a dilemma whether to follow dharma and adharma and all that. Because you are not clear about the big picture. Big picture is you are the awareness being, you are Avinasi, you are the Sat being. That picture is clear. Dharma, dharma is sort of rudimentary. Like you can follow dharma and avoid adharma because you have nothing to gain by following adharma because it is going to disturb you from your Shravanam Mananam. So why to do that? So it becomes very natural for you to follow dharma. You don't. The consequence is again transitory. So where is the question of consequence of dharma or adharma? Like what Arjuna was facing. The consequence is immaterial. When Bhagavan presents the Gita, when the jnana part of it, he doesn't even bother. Gata soon, agata soon. In one word, he has told the entire war. If those people are going to go first, you are going to go later. That is the niyati in the war. Dharma will have to win. So the other people who are on the other side of the dharma, that is adharma, they have to go first. And then anyway, you are also going to go. At the end of the Treta Yuga, at the end of the war, Treta Yuga comes to close. All the people, dharmic people, everyone goes. Finally, everyone goes, everyone walks towards Kunti goes, Arjuna goes, Dharma alone walks into the along with his dog, goes to that is how the Mahabharata ends. So Gatasun, Agatasun is the reality. So there's no point in what do you call ruminating or thinking so much about dharma and adharma without understanding the Vastu Avastu Viveka. So that is the quintessence of the Jnana Kanda, which I've been talking about through the words of Bhagavan, through the words of Puja Swami Dayananda Saraswati, and to that extent, I could understand and I could see that in my life journey till now. Yes, Sridhar?
Thank you, Swamiji. We have just a few more minutes left. Would you like to take one or two questions?
Yes, sure.
One of the questions we have received is how to acquire the characteristics of a Sthita Prajna as advised by Puja Swami.
Yeah, basically the Sthita Prajna part comes in the later part of the second chapter itself. Swamiji is very clear. Even Bhagavan also is clear. He says, Sthita Prajna, there is no one like so eloquently Jnanakanda tells that Bhagavan himself tells that it is something like a person who is Sthita Prajna is something like a person who is in the day and you are all in the night. When a person who is in darkness, how can he recognize a person who is in the day? And a person who is in the day, how can he recognize a person who is in the night? So it is as dramatic as it can be put through. So there's no point in trying to look at the the person's activities, the external manifestations, and trying to understand whether he is a Sthita Prajna or not Sthita Prajna. What we can say is that whatever is his natural way of living, it becomes a sadhana for you. Okay, if you find a person who is happy with Atmani Atmana Tushtaha, is happy with himself, irrespective of the vagaries of life, what is happening around him. Look at him and how he conducts his life, how he responds in Vyavahara. Pick it up as a sadhana for you. Try to like the Danena Danantara, compassion, how compassionate he is towards all being equal. We talk about so much about inequality in life. You can see that he is, whether he is a Raja or a beggar, he is able to be equanimous in his approach towards both of them. How he developed that equanimity, why he is able to have that equanimity, inquire into that. So whatever Sthita Prajna, how he behaves, is a sadhana for you. And you can't even say he is a Sthita Prajna. You can say that whatever is told in the Shastra, if somebody conforms to that as part of the sadhana, if somebody is, you can, in your understanding, you find that he is able to follow those things, just follow him. Ensure that the way in which he has been able to do, you try to acquire those characteristics within him. That is how the Sthita Prajna has to be inquired into, rather than trying to make a sit on judgment on others. Don't try to say, no, even he is studying Vedanta, he is not a Sthita Prajna. That means he doesn't understand. All those things, it's all not meant for others. Sit judgment on others. It is for you to pick up the sadhana. That is how Shastrakara also says, even Bhashyaka, even in the Bhagavan himself says, it is clearly that you don't look at the external ramifications of a jnani or a Sthita Prajna. look at as sadhana for you and pick up those good qualities and try to follow in your day-to-day activities.
Thank you, Swamiji. Another question we have received is, not sure about this, but I will just read it out. Isn't the mind also the being? That is the question.
What is that?
Isn't the mind is also not the being? Is it, the mind is also the being?
Exactly. Yeah. Very. Yeah. It is there. This true. This thing has been there for time immemorial as part of the Mananam. The sense very clearly, mind is an instrument. Mandukya Upanishads just say mind's existence, Chittam and Chaityam, both are interdependent. Like when thoughts are there, mind is there. When thoughts are not there, mind is not there. When mind is there, thoughts are there. They both are interdependent. That means anything interdependent, the rule in the Shastra is both are mithya. Whereas the being which sees both the mind and the thoughts is not dependent on anything else, that is Satyam. So mind, Mandukya Upanishad, finally this is the whole the crux of the Upanishad saying that it says Antasthanat. Antasthanat means the whole thing, whatever you are perceiving external world in Vyavahara or in your dream is both are mithya because both are mind's prevarications. It's all in the sense when you see right away, when you open your window, what you see is light, but you give it a name, space, and that goes into your mind. And that is how all Panchabhutas come into being. They come into being in your mind. They don't themselves call themselves Panchabhuta. You see only light, but you call it space. Within space, there is air. Within air, there is water, apaha. Within apaha, there is agni, there is temperature, and there are particles. If you see the light of sunlight beam coming through your window, you can see there are a lot of particles inside. So there is nothing called space and bifurcated from Vayu, Agni, Apaha, Prithvi and all that. It's all bifurcation. The Panchabhuta bifurcations is given in the mind. Pratiti matrameva. The Shastra calls it as it's all an imagery or an image in your mind is what you call life outside and life inside. Inside also all Panchabhudam only. But we give it various names, body, mind, everything. Time, space, everything is all purely in the mind's thing. So the mind is definitely not the being, because the being is seeing this mind right away. When I am talking, I am able to see that I, the being, sees mind's prevarications, and you are able to see. But you have to be honest about it. That the awareful being is aware of the mind. And that is why, since it is I am aware of, the mind is transitory, whereas I am the being. But this being is never not there. Even in you sleep, next day morning, did you have a good see? I had a good sleep. That means the being was there. So antakarana, the mind, everything is totally gone. You never, when you are in good sleep, what happened around you, you don't know. You can't, the mind, even though the mind is there, mind is gone for the day. Every day we are, that means if the mind is the being, that means we are dying every day. Then how do you get up next day morning? So it is very obvious in our own life. Sleep is the best example. Sleep is, I would say, it is Varaprasada given by Bhagavan to tell us that the other than the being, everything else is mithya. And even your own body, mind, it is purely, it is transactional. There is no reality other than being available for transactions.
Thank you, Swamiji. I had one final question. The yoga taught in the Bhagavad Gita second chapter.
Yeah,
And,
we'll be talking about it tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, and the yoga of the Yoga Darshanas, the Patanjali Yoga Darshana. So, how do they, is there comparison?
Yeah, that
Commonality,
is what, that
differences?
is where the problem is. Again, this is related to this mind. See, if there is the Yoga Shastra, since Patanjali's Yoga Shastra, and it doesn't know, like the Atma Jnanam is not the thing, this doesn't take that into account. Instead, it also says Atma Jnana, that the moksha, the freedom, is the objective of every human being. That is being obstructed and by the mind and its prevarications. So the mind can be seized from getting into all these prevarications. Then you develop the yoga, and in that being and that moment, the being, the freedom is fully realized. That is what the Yoga Buddhi of Patanjali or even the Ashtanga Yoga in some places is talked about. Even the Swamiji used to say modern Vedanta, all this Upasana, all this is to mind control. Whereas Swamiji is there, is the reality of the mind and the thoughts, that they are transitory, equally transitory. It's mithya. If that is understood, you don't have to do mind control. You just have to understand. That is Atma Jnanam. It frees you from this identification of the mind and its prevarications. The problem is with the identification. If your identification is the being, whatever happens in the mind, like even you see a movie and come out happily, whatever plus minus that has happened within the movie, you might have even cried there. But once you are come out, you really enjoy that movie, even your own crying. Like how that is how life has to be lived at. Your own crying, your own laughing, your own identification, or even if it is there momentarily, has to be seen. The truth of it is that all this identification is the problem. Just decide to identify, you are Purnam. There is no necessity for you to sit in yoga and hold on to your nose for hours. To how long you can do? Anyway, you have to come out of it. Once you come out of it, the truth of it will hit you. Then again you become restless. Again you have to go. That means you have to like you have to be in coma all the time for you to be yoga. If the truth of life, there is potentially yoga or the what do you call samadhi or whatever way they put it. If that is the truth of life, you have to be in coma all the time. And do you mean to say the person is in coma is a jnani or fulfilled? No, because without the mind and its prevarications available for you to see the glory of your being, you must be able to see the whole thing like a movie, like what you see in the dream, and enjoy it. Hello? It's over. Gone out? Hello?
Yeah.
Hello? Yeah.
Apologies, Swamiji, I just got disconnected.
Yeah. Does my answer satisfy?
Yeah. Yes, Swamiji, it's very insightful. And I look forward to tomorrow's session wherein you would elaborate more on the
Yoga.
second
Yoga.
chapter on yoga
Yes.
and all.
Yoga,
And
basically the Karma Yoga, which is nothing to do with this Patanjali Yoga. Make it clear. Karma Yoga, as is stipulated in Bhagavad Gita and Swamiji, we have, and Vedanta rather per se, is nothing to do with, nothing in the sense, that is only Upaya. It is not a yoga, it's not the be all and end all. That we will discuss it tomorrow. Yeah.
yes, I think that is an important point, and I look forward to tomorrow's session, Swamiji.
Yes.
On the behalf of entire Advaita Academy, I thank you for taking time for doing this weekend session. And viewers, do not miss tomorrow's session. Tomorrow at same time, 11 a.m., Swamiji will be doing the second part of the session. With this, we conclude this session. Thank you again, Swamiji, for the talk. And viewers, do follow us on Facebook and Twitter for more updates about more events. With this, I conclude the session.
Om Shri Guru Namaha. Om Shri Guru Namaha.